You have to love what you do.
Yeah.
Because if you do not love what you do, you will not be successful no matter what. I don't care. You can go 10 years of college. That doesn't make you love what you're going to do.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm here with my great friend, Jarrel Ferrara, and he is a serial entrepreneur that's going to share his journey of starting a business at 18 and all of the ups, downs, ins, and outs of running a business. You've got to check this out. Jarrel Ferrara.
Mr. Matt, how are you, buddy?
Really good, man.
Good.
Talking about this for a minute now.
Yeah, I've been trying to get me for months, and I'm just so busy, almost as busy as you. So I'm glad I made it.
Got the new golds, man.
Yes.
Open up over there.
Yes.
How's that going?
Very well. We've been open 2 months now. I'm hitting damn near every record that I wanted to set for it, membership numbers and stuff like that. Very blessed to have that place. It was a 2-year project from the very beginning. So
yeah, I remember when you were talking about it, it wasn't going to be where it is now. Weren't you looking at space more this way, more west?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was looking at a lot of places. When the old one where I trained for many years with my trainer, I was interested in purchasing that location, and it's a real long story, but after 8 or 10 months, I just kind of walked away from it, which is soon after it closed. So I really wanted to project anywhere other than there. I just wanted it to be like, not up the street, because there's the old Albertsons building that sat empty forever.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there because a lot of people are like, oh my God, what a great location. Well, no, because it's literally a stone's throw from the old one. So I did not envision me going that far away, but it was such a good deal that when I met with the developer just prior to him closing on that property, that was the old outlet mall, that is now what it is. I said, yes, I want this building right here. I want to be right in the middle, right here. So it was 6 spaces. So 2 years, if you can imagine, from me getting the lease worked out and everything to, opening up the doors, I had to demo everything. So we had 6 spaces, 6 different ceilings, 6 different walls, 6 different floors. It was insane. So the demo on it was a project in itself.
Well, and props to Schumann's and them, because that place was dead for a while.
Yes,
and we had the gym there on the south side.
Yeah.
And the owners of that property, I mean, that was a tax write-off for them. They could have cared less about us or that we were there or whatever. I mean, no. And then they finally got rid of it.
Yeah.
It's coming together, man. It looks good over there.
It is. And I'll tell you what, both Alex and Philip Schumann are great people. They did a wonderful job. They really helped me through the process, because it is 25,000 square feet, so it's nothing small. And they were very understanding through the process, because you hit road bumps, whether it comes to electrical or rooftop units and all these other things. And again, the Schumann Corporation was just awesome. I'm glad to be a part of it. So.
Well, man, it's funny. We were reminiscing, if we want to call it that. I just turned 43 yesterday. You're how old?
Good for you. I'm 52.
52.
Going on 29.
So we got about a decade between us.
Stopped at 29.
You look amazing. Look at you, man. You look like a walking infomercial for supplements and stuff.
You got to kind of look the part, but when it's a lifestyle, thank you. It's 4:30 a.m. I get up. It's the one time of the day my phone isn't ringing.
Yes.
So by 5 o'clock, I've already foam rolled and I'm getting into my 2-hour workout, hour and a half, whatever I can put in. And then it's getting the wife and kids up, getting the whole household going. And my wife gets up practically every day too, and she gets down there and puts work in too. So I say I stopped at 29 because it's always a mindset, and I can't believe I just turned 52 this year.
Yeah.
And to me it's one of those things where, man, when we were 18 or you're just in high school, you're like, man, 40,
watching my son, he eats whatever he wants.
Right.
And it's like
40,
you want
40,
right
you're going to be so old. And now I'm like, oh shit, I'm 52 already,
Yeah.
But I definitely don't feel it. And I have people that I know that are my age that are like already looking at the forefront, that word retirement. And I just, it's just not in my vocabulary. I don't sit well. I don't sit still well. And what are you going to do if you're not doing something you love? And we can get into that more in depth, because I had not one day of college in my life. And at an early age, I just said, hey, I just want to make money, but obviously be successful and dig into a community, which is what I did, right after I was 20 years old. So,
well, to roll the clock back. So I'm 42. I was 15. I was working at a Chinese restaurant, and I'd hustled up the candy bars and the snow shoveling and lawn mowing, and then I worked at a Chinese restaurant. I was a busboy,
Right.
just getting paid cash.
Right.
And then I rolled over to Subway and walked in, and nobody would hire anybody because I was like 12 or 13
Right.
at the Chinese joint.
Yeah.
Nobody would hire a 15-year-old. So I'm literally walking around that parking lot,
Yep.
the Subway, the car wash. Hey, do you hire 15-year-olds? And you're like, I'll hire you. And you hired me to work at Subway. You turned me into a sandwich artist.
I did.
Gave
And
me
you're a damn
training.
good one too.
I killed the subs. So was that 97?
Boy, you'd have to figure that one out.
Probably
Probably about
97. I
that.
graduated in 99.
Yeah.
So a couple of years prior to that.
Yeah.
And worked there kind of through high school. And
Through high school,
first
absolutely.
summer out.
Yeah.
So kind of take us back. Like you started your first business at 20, but you were a little bit older at that time. You were probably 25, 26, right?
Right when I got out of high school is when I bought into and got into the franchising of Subway. And my first official one that had my name and my fingerprints on it were Berthoud. And it's that was a community that I really liked. I never lived there. I always lived in Loveland most of my life, and loved it because it was at the time it was about 6,000 people was all, but they had nowhere to eat other than that A&W up the street.
That's right.
And it was just a place where they had a mom and pop's breakfast place. I can't recall the name of it. That was right in the middle of town, and you had Ace Hardware. That's it, So going in there, the uphill battle was, and it was a short battle, but you have to convince Subway that, okay, yeah, it will survive here. It will make money.
You can actually sell sandwiches.
And sell
down there in
sandwiches and do it. And so after convincing them of that, that was my first really fingerprint with Subway. And then I kind of took that to other places of Johnstown, Milliken. I'm like, well, all these little places that don't have it, why not? Because if you have enough of them. So I was always to the point where I always owned 2 or 3, maybe 4. I was selling 1. I was building 2. So I was always in kind of a development stage. Every 2 years I wanted to do something different, which right now, fast forward to Gold's Gym, that's kind of why I wanted to do that. But back in the Subway days, there was a time Fred DeLuca, the gentleman that started Subway, passed away, and his kids took over, and right away after they took over, they slowly started raising everything as far as prices go. And at that time, I had all the ones I mentioned. I had 2 in Windsor. I had co-branded TCBY inside of a Subway in Berthoud at the time. So, I had a lot of wheels turning, and just dissatisfied. I had this little detail shop, we'll call it, and I had 1 employee. They were in one of my car washes. And I said, if I could just take this and maybe get a dealership, just 1, man, we could really, put a dent in this and make it work. And after I got my 1, right away, I doubled staff to 2, so now I have 2 guys working there.
That's a big double for young kids. Right?
Yeah. And then after I did that, I pretty much had to turn around and go brick and mortar because it was getting so busy. And that was the transition out of Subway, saying if I just concentrated on this. I had a property company also over the years that when it was financially able, you went ahead and you flipped houses. You know? Yeah. And got into a property even on Main Street in Windsor that I just gutted it. I did all the demo myself, and then I had the certain trades come in, and I had that property for quite a while. I was zoned it commercial, rented it to electric companies. I had my office in the back. But with Subway, I just kind of transitioned out of that to I'm a car guy, so obviously I'm a big meal prep guy, and I love to know what I eat. I like to eat clean as possible. So that was hard getting out of Subway. I'm like, what am I going to eat every day? Yeah. Because I made a salad every day. I got to make sure I watched my macros and everything.
Measure all your stuff on the scales back there.
Exactly. You know it.
The food was better back then. I remember. Yes. I go in there now and look at some of that stuff. I'm like, you're not getting that from the same place.
Yes.
The food is not looking as good.
Well, I'll tell you what.
These days.
A real good example is they're trying to go back to that. Like they're trying to turn back the clock and say, oh, we slice our own meat now. Well, I don't know where that's coming from. I've been uninvolved with that corporation for so long now, about 10 years, almost 11. But that was another one of the reasons why, because they started making sure we had to get it from, let's say, Oscar Mayer. Well, the ham would show up. The ham was in bags. It was pre-cut. And you look at the ingredients, and it's just sodium and water. I mean, there was hardly any meat in there, so the proteins were be taken out so much, and yet they're still trying to project this healthy food.
Yep.
And not to speak ill will, I mean, I had Subway for, I don't know if it was 18 years that I worked for that corporation. And
let's not get sued here.
Yeah, they were very good to me. They were, but
Yeah.
when I left, it was just making a clean slate, because I'm like, if I could just concentrate on this detail shop just more and take it to that next level. And so when it became busier, I had to move out, and I was renting space, and I rented one space, and then I got another dealership or two.
Yeah.
And then I had to take over half the building next to that one just because I was growing. And then it was a situation where I didn't own the property, and the guy's like, well, my business is doing so good. I bought the building you're in next door. I need you out in 30 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just shitting my pants. I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I'll never forget, I was driving around that area, which is out in the industrial area in Windsor, out in the east side, knocking on doors. Hey, you got any space? You got any space? And I saw this guy, he was carrying out computers, and loaded him in his truck. I said, hey, I'm Jarrel, I'm looking for some space. He goes, really? I go, how big is this building? Because he had doors on the back, so it would be operable for me. He's like, that's about 4,000 square feet. I said, do you want to rent it? He goes, absolutely. He goes, I was just going to get a realtor involved. I go, I have leases. I have one that's 5 pages. We can do it tomorrow. And so moved into there. Then I had rented an overflow 2,000 square foot, because then I got into window tint PPF.
Yeah.
And then once I started doing ceramic coatings as well, I just did that in my overflow bays.
I want to interrupt you really quick.
Yeah.
So I know somebody's listening to this right now going, holy crap, this dude's 18, 19, 20, buys a Subway, TCBY. You're like going down the list of all these ventures. But if you're a young kid, especially in today's day and age, right,
Yeah.
where you don't have as many of those young kids.
Yeah.
We talked about, the conversations you and I had.
Yes.
I was the only guy that ever asked about the business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So somebody that's interested in that, like, what was that first step? Because you and I understand 6, 7 businesses, but it's probably overwhelming for somebody that wants to jump in.
Absolutely.
But like, what's that first step? How does an 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old get a Subway?
Yeah. Well,
Buy into a franchise. How did you do that? Is it different
than
now?
And I think it's completely different now, because I built a house by the time I was 21, and we're talking about a different market. 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage. I built it brand new, tri-level. Everything's finished for $80,000.
I was gonna say $80,000, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that dates me right there. How long ago that was, right?
Yep.
And when I did it, I had to put down a small percentage, which I saved up, right? So you need a little bit of cash, but I had everything up for collateral, my dog, my car, anything I could. And then people, what you have to realize is where we are now in our life. I had a TV on a milk crate that I bought at Walmart, unboxed, because it had a crack in it. And I had my aunt that lived in New York gave me this couch that was green and gold stripes that I could barely fit on myself, and I'm not a big person. And that was my family room. I could afford drapes because I bought a house. It was me and my dog, Yeah. And so that's where you have to start. I think a lot of the issue right now is people want to start here. They want to start. They don't want. They want to get to the finish line before they even start the race.
Well, they see you rolling up, and you've got the nice car, and you've got the nice house.
Right.
It's like, whoa, I'm 50.
Yeah.
I'm 40. I worked a little bit, and then they forget where you started.
Yeah. To do it now, to answer your question,
if you're in
very
2024,
difficult.
like what would you tell an 18, 19-year-old now that just they're the one working at the sandwich shop saying, I want to know how this works because I want to be you.
Yeah, I want to be that guy. Yeah. I tell, and I have employees right now. Like I have, his name is Kyle Gomez. And he works at Showshine Detail. Okay. He's worked for me almost 15 years. He's an incredible individual. Love him to death. And you get people like that under your wing running your business, because I'm sitting here talking to you right now and he's there running that business. Yep. He has a business, I say, in my business. No different than Courtney, who at my Gold's Gym. I've known her for years.
No, she's awesome.
And I pulled her back here from Florida where she moved to. And that's a neat story we could talk about too. But I would tell them that we can't clone ourselves, but you want to get real close and get people that are just like us or like yourself. Yeah. But trade is very, very important. Being a painter, that's a trade. no different than being a detailer and all these other things. They're trades. And I think what our economically, what our country has got away with, or got away from, excuse me, is, go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on college, and then what are you going to do with it, right? And so even my kids, my son, he's 29 years old, and the one thing I would say is, like, I told him, you're going to college because you're smarter than me, and I want you to get through it and see because he didn't know what he wanted to do. And he was like into political science and all these things, like just totally over my head. So graduated from CSU with his master's. He was hired by KPMG before he even graduated. One of the biggest, players in the world, and he works out of their office outside of Denver. And I told him, you're going to go to college, and you're going to get through it, and maybe you'll come out on the other end, with a trade. Who knows? But that is, if you have that mindset. But don't go to college if you want to have that mindset. Like, when you graduate, you get this piece of paper and they point you over to this building, and that's where you're going to work the rest of your life. It's still a hustle. And going back to my son, when he was going to graduate, and my wife, Nicole, is a dentist. We couldn't be more opposite. So we're talking about between 8 and 9 years of college, and my wife is so much smarter than me. I mean, by leaps and bounds. Again, that's why she went to college, but she knew what she wanted to be. So if you're going to go into college and you want to be a doctor,
dentist,
good, then that's your path.
Yeah.
You can also go to college like my son and just be a real smart individual that I want to apply my talents somewhere, and that's where he funneled to. But going back to telling the kid, and I get asked that question once or twice a week, and my answer has always been, you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
Because if you do not love what you do, you will not be successful, no matter what. I don't care. You can go 10 years of college. That doesn't make you love what you're going to do.
Yeah. Are you a small business trying to navigate all of the landscape of digital marketing and don't know where to go? Reach out to one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for all things digital marketing. They are the producers of this podcast, and they run all of the marketing for all of my companies. Check them out at imprint-digital.com. Is the paint or roof on your home or business starting to look a little shabby? If so, reach out to one of our sponsors, M&D Painting and Roofing. M&D Painting and Roofing is a full-service residential and commercial painting and roofing contractor in Northern Colorado. And full disclosure, I'm the M in M&D. Check them out at mdepainting.com.
The Subway thing was more my personality, my lifestyle, my diet. But I got to go in and I got to talk to people all day.
You had the ponytail too, didn't you?
Oh, I had 12.
You should have seen this guy's ponytail.
Oh, it was badass. Those are different days, man. And I could wear whatever I wanted. I thought it was cool.
Now you were pretty cool.
Now I looked at the pictures and I thought,
apron on and your earrings. And
I thought I was pretty cool, and I don't know why. But when you go back and you tell these kids that, you really have to love what you do. Between Subway. That was easy. Cars, I'm a car guy. And not only a car guy, but the restoration process, which we're a detail shop. We do a lot more. We're not a body shop. But then with the Golds thing, I kept working out at the older location, and I was like, why do I not own a gym? I work out 6 days a week. I eat right. I'm just that guy that's like wired like that. And that's where it came about. And my wife has always supported everything I've ever done. And likewise, I do with her dental practice and everything she does. But when it comes right down to it, again, I can say it 100 times. If you don't like what you're doing, you're going to be miserable, and it will reflect in your work. It will reflect in even your income. I mean, I hate to say it, but no matter what. So sometimes it doesn't have to be like, well, I'm a car guy. Well, do you know how many facets cars are? I mean, you could sell cars and you could make 6 figures a year if you're a real damn good salesman. Yeah. And if you like parts, service, you get into a dealership, you can make over $100,000 in a service department as a great service writer. So, and I take care of somewhere between 6 and 8 dealerships in Northern Colorado right now. And I take care of pretty much every brand, right? And getting to know the owners, getting to know the GMs and everything else. It's an opportunity for you to really open your mind to how many different facets just cars can be, But it's always been like, love what you do and don't rush into anything, especially when you're young. If an 18-year-old kid is asking you this question, you got to be like, what are you interested in? What do you want to do? And take money out of the situation. The money will come if you love what you do.
Yep.
Period.
Did you self-finance buying that Subway, or did the house that you flipped? Because I'm still thinking back to like, how do you get into a franchise? Well, it's a couple $100,000 now.
Like
if you
I
want to get into
said,
something, right?
back then it was nothing. The cost was
What were you all
I used
in
my
for
house
for a Subway. You had some equity in your house.
I had some equity in my house. I literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I had an old Grand Prix I had restored, and I had a 1988 Toyota that was like lifted. I decked that thing out, and then I had an old beater runner that I can leave wherever I went.
Yeah.
Everything, my cars, you name it. What little I had, I put up for collateral.
Yeah.
So going back to, okay, the kid, he's 18, he's living at home with his mom and dad, or maybe he's in an apartment or whatever it is, it's a different ballgame now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, economically, it's tough.
I feel like if you love it, and then, and I did this to a certain degree, is go get with somebody, like be your Kyle,
Yes.
be that guy that
Get that
works
mentor
for that guy,
Yeah.
and just work your ass off
Yeah.
for him and put in, and you might not know, there might be an opportunity. I mean, because there's all kinds of creative ways, right? Like what's stopping you from financing him in a joint venture to expand your detail
Absolutely.
shop somewhere else?
Absolutely.
Right? Something like that. But there's so many creative ways.
Yes, and I had 2 Subways in all those years, 2 Subways that I actually sold to managers that were with me for an extended amount of time. One was with me like 8 or 9 years, I can't remember, and he was very, very interested. So I kind of walked him through the baby steps of buying, and he went down to training. And then the other one did the same thing. He worked for me a couple of years, and it wasn't for sale because I was building, and we were the sales were just so far up. I said, I'm going to add some blue sky to this. I says, I'm not going to finance any of it. I says, if you can't, we get to that roadblock. So he had family involved, and his mom and dad, helped him out with the down and everything else. But there's a lot of ways you could do it. But you hear so much about kids graduating high school and living at home, or they try and get out and then they come back home. If you have a home base and you have a good home system with your family, you could stay there for a couple of years while you're building and doing something and just socking away money. But it's a lot. People have this mindset about 40 hours a week too. 40 hours a week is for the normal individual, if you ask me. Unless you have been in business 20 to 30 years and you're working 30 to 40, good for you. You probably got a good system going. Me, on the other hand, I'm very OCD. I'm very hands-on.
You're in all the businesses. Like I'm in the gym, I see you in there, and you're with the people, and they know it's.
As a matter of fact, yesterday I had a guy walk in. I was at the front desk, shook his hand, said, Jarrel Ferrara, I'm the owner. Nice to meet you. And he had his son with him. I'm like, what brings you in today? And he's like, well, just wanted a tour. I'm going to a local gym, but I wanted to check this out. And I'm like, cool. I says, well, I grabbed Dakota because I was already on with someone else. I says, I'm going to have him give you a tour and stuff. Let me know what you think. And he looked at me and he just kept saying, where do I know you from? I go, I detailed your wife's Yukon last week. He goes, show, shine, detail. I go, yeah. He goes, it's like, do you pass yourself on the road? I was like, I think I do some days. So, but it's all about, you work too much, you work a lot. I don't see that at all. I mean, I wish I could break it down. I know that time will come in the future. When, I don't know. But again, I love what I do. So I'm at the gym in the mornings. I want to catch that morning rush. I take my daughter to school every morning. Yep. And then I get to work, you see all that rush at the gym. And then when it slows down, I'm using air quotes because we're still new. So we opened up at the slowest time in the industry.
Yeah, and there's always that push. I mean, you go all in on a launch of anything.
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like, hey guys, I'll see in a couple of months. We got to get this going. But then once it gets going, it hits that point of momentum.
Well, now we're coming into, in this industry, September is the uptick. Yes. And then from there, every month after is busier and busier. And then, you hit that December, January, and it's just nuts. So I find it a blessing that I was running behind because I was supposed to open 4 months prior to what I did. But opening up at the slow time, I worked out the kinks, and we were busy. So right now, when I leave after I go in the morning, I go to my shop for a few hours in the middle of the day, and I spend time there. Sometimes it's longer than others, until I know I can leave by mid-afternoon or 2 o'clock, and I go back to the gym for the late afternoon, early evening rush per se. So I can, I go through, I walk the gym, I'm moving weights, I make sure everything is where it needs to be. I'm making sure my cleaning staff is on top of everything. I mean, that's how it has to be, not just with a new business. That never goes away with me. Yeah. So, and balancing that time And now my daughter, again, like I said, she's in cross country, so I got to leave just before 5 to go get her from that after school. And then the weekends, just try and spend as much time with family as you can, you know?
Well, I think there's that the misconception, like you talk about, hey, 40 hours a week is for a normal employee working for somebody, but it's like we work more than that, but we're not counting the hours because we love it. Do you and your wife get into this? So Emily's like, man, you're working. I go, I'm not working. I'm talking about my book and jiu-jitsu and like having coffee. She goes, but that's work. That's not work for me. It's work for her. So do you guys run into that, like creating those, how do you create those boundaries where like Jarrel doesn't want to come home?
Yeah.
But family's like, we need you.
I think at first it was very difficult because as we've been married over 20 years now. So at first she was getting in the dental practice. She was really busy. And I had a lot of irons in the fire too. But I would have to say back then, not started a family yet and everything else, it was easier. We were able to spend more time together. And then as her business grew and my business grew, we saw each other a little bit more. So on the weekends it was tough, and I still do. And I attest to this, that on Saturdays, I feel like I get up early in the morning still. Saturday's leg day. I mean, Wednesdays are too, but Saturday's leg day. So I'll get after for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then after that, I'll either go to the gym or I'll go to the shop, wherever I'm needed for a couple hours. And then the rest of the afternoon is ours. Sunday is all ours. But
so you've got off limit days, like no one's no one's bugging you.
Yeah, and they do anyway. They do anyway. My phone rings, and I like people say, "Oh, I got to mow my yard." I'm like, I love mowing the yard because you can't get a hold of me on my phone. So, but when it comes to like those other days, you know, then there's other opportunities too, because I'm just beating the cross country to death here, but it's because she just started. So this last Saturday was her first meet. It was at 8:30 on Saturday. So I got up even earlier to work out. That's out of the way. And the rest of the day, I didn't go to either one of my businesses. I spent it with my daughter and my wife that day.
So with all the things you have going on, all the businesses and commitments, like what do you do for time management? Are you just super, I mean, you're obviously very disciplined with your diet, with your training, with everything. Is that just kind of naturally wired in?
Yes, I'd have to say that. You know this. We can't make a schedule and go like, okay. I mean, you can to a certain extent. Like right now, I had to say, okay, when I'm starting at the gym, it's at 8:30 right after I drop off my daughter, and I set 11 o'clock as the time I have to leave to go to the shop. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 10:30, sometimes it's 11:15. Like I said, I was walking out earlier to the gym to come here, and I got stopped at the front door by someone that just wanted to talk. That's fine. That's the best part of my day. And then I have to keep my eye on the clock, and I have a reminder on my phone, 2 o'clock, my alarm goes off, just reminding me, hey, it's gym time because I'm at the shop.
Yeah.
2:15, 3 o'clock, 2:30, who knows, but when I find it feasible. But then I'd say the hot points are taking my daughter to school, picking my daughter up, spending time with my wife. My son, you know, he lives outside Denver. Him and his girlfriend came down this weekend. So on Sunday, the whole family, including my mom and dad, we all went out for breakfast. Yep. And so those things are like, you know, I make sure I can do it on days that I just don't even pencil it in. You permanent marker it in so that these are times that
you just block that off first.
Yeah.
And the business all just takes care of itself. Yeah. Even if your day just gets totally turned upside down. And I love that, hey, 4:35 in the morning, like, man, I'm getting my workout in, the important stuff, and the rest of this day can just go to crap, and we're totally cool.
The only bad thing about that is when you get clients that you've been taking care of for so many years that know you're up early, and I still will get a text message sometimes at 5 or 5:30, and I always text them back and say, hey,
I know you're up.
Yeah, I'll get back to you after I get my daughter to school. That's why I always text them back. You know, otherwise, you know, then your workout gets ruined because then you're on the phone and you're texting and stuff. So, and like I said, my wife come down and she'll work out, and I do put together my morning texts, you know, to sometimes GMs and managing directors at dealerships and my staff. Hey, you know, Kyle, this is what we got coming. Be sure to take care of this, just to give everyone a heads up. Matter of fact, this morning when I was on my way to take her to school, a gentleman I do business with shot me a text. Hey, I got to drop off a truck. I had a broken window, so I need to get this taken care of. And he runs an automotive business. So that has to get done first thing this morning when we've already got 3 cars ahead of him. So it's a balance, man. It really is. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's easy. I would prefer to have more time with my family. But the reason why I spend the amount of time I do in the business is so I can spend time with my family. So, I mean, that's big.
Well, and then the time that just because you're there doesn't mean you're there, right? It's
Yeah.
like spending time, uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
You know, because I see the 40-hour-a-week gal goes home. Well, I'm at home at 4:30. I had somebody say this to me when I'm home at 4:30 for my family. You're still doing this. I'm like, well, I'm with my daughter and my wife, first of all. Son's at school and football, but like you're sitting, watching you with them and you're sitting there on your phone. Like you're not paying any attention to them. You're miserable.
Are you with family?
And you're eating like shit. And I mean, talk about like the fitness side of it, right? If you're listening to this, go watch this on YouTube and look at this guy right here. I mean, like, you know, but when you're fit and you're disciplined and like the diet's tuned in and the workouts are tuned in, you get so much more done in business. I don't know if you see that, but I mean,
I do.
Just it's so much more efficiency. Everything is just on point.
And even, you know, you could take it. It's not really to an extreme, but my wife schedules the vacations, and rightfully so. And God bless her, because if she didn't, I would never take a vacation. Again, going back to I love what I do. You know, she's the one that has to hit the pause button and say, hey, we're going to be gone Wednesday through Friday next week or next month. And we're going to get away. We got a couple places we routinely go to, whether it's Arizona, real kid-friendly place with tons of pools. And when we go there, the first thing I always do is that's why we really got our cool spots, because I'll like, what's a gym like? Do they have a gym? And so the places with the nicest gyms is usually where we go, because we still get up in the morning. Sometimes we'll trade offs, be like, I'm going to go down and get my workout in. You guys hit breakfast, or vice versa. And she's almost as big of a workout freak as I am. I mean, I'm wired to the point where, you know, getting up real early every day, I can't imagine missing a workout, you know, just because that's how you get your day started. I've already burned 1,500 calories. I've cleared my head. I know what I have to do today. And I'm walking out the door, taking my daughter to school, because I know what I got to do. Kiss my wife goodbye, you know, tell her I love her, and get on with my day. You know,
have you always been like that your whole life, or are you more tuned in at certain points?
I'd have to say yes. And what's funny about it is my father retired very early from Kodak. He was a bigwig there. That's and right. We got moved out here by the Kodak company. We're originally from upstate New York, right in the Lake Ontario area. So when we moved out here, I was a kid, and I remember growing up, my dad was me, and he ran a whole building out there. He was like, they moved us out here, they set us up, they were great to us. So I always seeing my dad, you know, what did he do on the weekends? Well, we were moving rock, we were landscaping the yard, we were doing something, right? And it was work. I always found it as work, because when you're a kid, you're like, this sucks. You know, I don't want to pull weeds and move rock on a Saturday afternoon. But look at, you know, you always say, oh, I'll never end up like my parents. I'm just like my dad. Right. And what's funny about it is he will be the first one to tell me, you work too much. You know, back off a little bit. Are you crazy? You're opening up a gym. But then my mom and dad come see it. They were at the grand opening a couple weeks ago. They're just, you know, just besides themselves. We can't not believe you did this now. You know, what's next? I'm like, I got another plan. I got a 2 to 3 year plan, and the next one's coming up, you know, but you got to stay ahead. And I think I'm like the way I am because of my dad. Very disciplined. And disciplined in a good way. I mean, he raised me, my father and my mother raised me right. You know, and they raised me hard. And you want to get here, you want to be different than everybody else. And raise my son that way, raising our daughter that way too. And, you know, everyone can be here. Everyone can be in the middle ground. But to rise to the top and get above and beyond doesn't make you better than everyone else. But is that who you want to be, or do you want to be average Joe individual?
Well, that mentality is not around as much, I don't think, as it used to be, because I see some of the, you know, friends of the kiddos, just general kids. I'm like, that's not how that works. Right. And like people I said, they want to go expect way too much, way too soon for not doing anything.
Yeah, they want to go 0 to 100 right now, and it's and it still is work. You know, just because I own businesses does not mean that, you know, I don't see Kyle. You know, and I'm not. I got him. I got Holly running the detail side of things. I got Glenn. This guy's worked for me forever. Wonderful individual. I have other people that are passing that 2-year mark. You know, Glenn's been with me over 10, and then I got people like Seth and other individuals that are passing that 1 and 2 year mark. I mean, these are key people in your businesses. No different than you get in the gym. I have Courtney, and I have Dakota running the training department. I have Christina running the classroom, and all these people are what make you grow. But I'll never have somebody exactly like me, but these are people that are just damn near. You got to have people that want to work their ass off.
So how do you find them? Because I talk to all the business owners. You know this, right? We
Yeah.
talk to them like, man, I got to fire this guy.
Yeah.
This interview didn't show up. How do you find those good people? Like, I feel like there's that law of attraction. They see you and they're attracted to that. But I mean, what specifically have you done to draw those people in?
You know, that's a funny question, because if I had to say, I'll put ads out and I'll find people to work for me. I mean, that happens. But if I look at every key person in my business, it's someone that has come to me. I haven't reached out. It's not a Craigslist ad. They've come in, and I'll use Courtney as my most recent example. You know, she's like checking Instagram, and she's like, Jarrel, this has got to be you. I'm like, where are you at? You know, I'm in Florida and this and that. And I'm like, well, knowing her mom lives here locally in Colorado, I know that was going to be a good pull, a little easier. But I'm like, next time you're up here, you know, we're starting to knock down walls. Let's go to lunch. Let me show it to you. And after that day, I'm not patting myself on the back. She's like, I would love to move back to Colorado to work for you and run this. And so when you have special people like that in your life, between her and even Kyle, he came to work for me. And these are awesome stories that I can tell. Kyle was a kid on a bicycle that came in for a job. Kyle is now in a townhome. He's married. Yeah. He's grown, you know, and he's done so well for himself working for me. And I take a lot of pride in that. Not patting myself on the back, but saying, you know, this kid came to me, and look what he's growing to in my company.
And it almost sounds so passive. Like, if I'm somebody listening to this, it's like, well, what do I go out and do? And it's like, well, he came to me. I didn't do anything. I was just existing. And this kid rolls up like, nice for you, Jarrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that? Is it recognizing those opportunities, or not turning some kid on a bike away? You know, kind of a deal, just giving somebody a shot.
Absolutely.
And like, that's how Kevin's here. Kevin, he's our GM.
Yeah.
He's been with us 15 of the 19 years we've been in business.
Oh, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. I crashed my car, had to get it fixed. So I was getting a rental car at Enterprise, and I was moving some M&E painting signs back into the trunk. And he's like, oh, hey, M&E, I see you guys. And he's like, you hiring? I'm like, no, not really. Then he messaged me a week later. He's like, are you hiring? I'm trying to get out of this business and corporate world. I'm like, dude, you could maybe power wash houses. Like, can you power wash houses with your own truck and maybe your own power washer?
Right.
For 10 hours a week? Sure, let's do it. And I mean, he's worked up through every part of the company. But how easy would that have been, just to be like, nah, not even return the call, return the email. Yeah. And you never know where those go.
And you have to, because and you can't, no matter what, you have to start them at the very bottom of the ladder. And that's where Kyle started. He was detailing cars. He was prepping cars, prepping and dressing. And everyone under that umbrella of my shop there has a different, way of doing things. So you want somebody to work at their strengths, you know. I don't want a buffer in somebody's hands that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're going to cut through clear coat and just totally screw up somebody's car, you know. So we have exterior techs that are floaters. And then I have people that are working the flow, like Holly, and she's detailing too. I have people that are, all they do, you just prep, dress. And because when I tell you full, it has ceramic, you know what you have to do, because you can't put certain things on ceramic coatings.
Yeah.
So
kind of like Subway, you cut bread.
Yeah, cut bread.
You suck at vegetables. Cut bread.
Yeah, do dishes. Exactly. It's the same thing. But if you're going to take a chance on an individual, shortly after, my key point is after 30 to 60 days, we're going to know about this individual, right? They've gotten anywhere between 2 and 4 paychecks. We're going to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And that's when I pull them in for that first 30 to 60 day process and say, hey, this is what you're doing right. This is what you're doing wrong. This is going to be a little bit of a bump and raise, but this is what I want you to be making. And the way to get there is to correct what I just mentioned and even do better than what you're doing good at. So,
but you cast a vision and you carve a path for them to work into.
And then you let them decide, because I can say, and I've learned this over the years, I can beat it into somebody's head what they're doing wrong, and they're the ones that can correct it. So that's why one of my things is, like, if I have to fire you, you probably fired yourself, because I have no problem firing somebody, because if I'm firing you, you've probably worked for me 6 to 12 months and you just can't get on track. Whether it's calling in sick all the time, you're almost out of excuses as why, then you have to cut the cord, because at that point you don't want to waste your time on somebody that is pretty much taking advantage of you.
And you're the kind of guy, and I just know this, right? That, like, you'll give somebody second, third, fourth
Absolutely,
chance to a
yeah.
certain point where it's like, okay, man, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a surprise that you're getting fired at this point.
Exactly. And that's why when you say you're firing somebody, it sounds so harsh, but firing somebody is because you have given them every opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes they'll see the writing on the wall and they'll just literally, it doesn't happen very often, but an employee will just stop showing up for work. I've had that. And I've had key people in my companies that have helped me with my success at businesses. And they still, you know, I don't care how many days, months, or years, I'm talking years, and you just stop showing up to work. It sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when you get real close at that point. If you have somebody working for you for so many years, you get close personally. You get to know their family and their ins and outs, and they literally will still stop showing up for work.
If you've got junk in your life or business that you need removed, reach out to one of our sponsors, Hulk Addicts. They are a full-service junk removal company, and they'll be able to take care of you at your home or your business to get rid of whatever you don't want. Check them out at hulkaddictsjunk.com. As a small business owner, one of the things we will always need to address is a space to run our business. If you're looking to do a small tenant finish, maybe even build a building from the ground up, you've got to reach out to one of our sponsors, Mendel Construction. They are a full-service commercial contractor that can take care of your business needs to build the space and place of your dreams to run your business. Check them out at mendelandcompany.com. If you're a Christian small business owner, you have to check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. They are a Christian peer advisory community here in Northern Colorado and the Front Range that is designed to give you encouragement, support, and insight to grow your business with other like-minded Christian business owners. Not only are they a sponsor and a partner of this podcast, but I'm also a member of their community. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com.
I mean, it doesn't matter. 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, they'll still do it at the drop of a hat. So,
dang, how do you're kind of a control freak, right?
Absolutely.
Just a little bit. How do you let go of the reins? So you find a guy, guy rolls up on a bike, puts it in 60 days, doing great, little bump. Here's the vision.
Yeah.
And hey, I got to go to the gym. I'm going to leave you here with this buffing machine. I mean, how do you, because I have trouble with that.
Yeah.
Here's your job, but I'm going to kind of do it for you and hover over you. So have you gotten better with that? Is that still a struggle for you? It can be tough for me sometimes.
Yeah, it's a hard struggle. But again, when you get key people into key positions, you have to lean on them. And it was just the other day, and if I'm yelling and screaming, man, it happens once every few years, but I just lose it, and there's probably a good reason. But just the other day, I pulled a couple of my key techs aside, and I said, it was just 3 days ago, and I said, this is what we're having a problem with. I says, and it's funny that it happens when I'm not here. So pretend like I'm always here. And then I put the ball in their court, and I said, this is what I'm going to suggest. This is what you should do. And I told them what they should fix and how they should fix it. But you know what? The two of you converse, come up with a better plan if you have one, and then give it to me within 24 hours.
Let me know.
Yeah, because otherwise, I always tell people, if you're not doing your job the way you're supposed to do, then I don't need you, because then I'm going to just do it myself. And at the same time, you'll see me roll through here and throw trash. You need me to scrub a toilet? I don't care. Yeah. I'm not the guy that will tell somebody to do something I haven't already done. And if I need to do it for you, then I don't need you. Yeah. And they came back with a corrective plan, and it's going to work, and that's what you do. But I'm with you, control freak to the fullest, and I am that way. And my wife will tell you that it's not a good thing to have. She does way better at it. And in her business, she has different facets, and she has more firewalls of people. She has a phenomenal staff, but she has more firewalls than I do. Yeah. So I have 2 or 3 where she'll have like 8. Yeah. And she's the same way, though.
Separate all that stuff just to keep it
But she's the same way, but she's more mild about it. I'm more on top about it, but she's a control freak too, because she takes great pride in what she does. Yeah.
How do you fire somebody? I mean, have you found a best way to just have that conversation?
Yeah.
They go different every time, or how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, it runs the gamut. I have always a vision, if I have to let somebody go, that when I pull them into my office, it's a conversation. And sometimes it leads to crying and I can't believe this and this and that. But it's always me having their file in front of me with the 28 write-ups on one subject, Yes. And if there's tears and there's frustration, it's only because they know at that point, yeah, you've given me every opportunity. Well, I got nothing, And in the male dominant industry of automotive, I have had a couple guys just get really wacko when you go to fire them and like stand up. And it's just one of those things like, man, I'll just stand up and say, the best thing for you to do right now is leave. I said, you don't want to.
They swell up a little bit?
Yeah. And I said, you don't want to lay a hand on me. I said, because you don't want me to lay a hand on you. And it's gotten, it's been years now, but it was to the point where I had a couple guys that, again, automotive industry, you got guys out there and they're working hard and stuff. And they freak out when they're getting let go. And I had one short but funny story, called the cops on me because he thought I was threatening him. Cops showed up and he was sitting out his car across the street, and this was in Windsor. So I don't know all the cops, but this particular one that day I did. And so he showed, and I didn't know he called the cops. So when the cop pulled up, he gets out and he's talking with a gentleman up the street, across the street. And he comes in and he says, "How you doing, Jarrel?" I'm like, "Good." I said, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, he called in the police saying that he was turning you in for domestic violence." So I had to ask him, "Are you and Jarrel married? What's the domestic violence I got called here for?"
What did you say? What happened?
I told him exactly the deal. He's like, "I told him to just leave and go home." And I says, "Well," I said, I fired him. I says, and he's pissed. So I says, but that's the things as a small business owner, you have to have a clear head too. You just can't lose your mind on somebody either, because especially in today's world, we're having a podcast right now. This is easy. We're being recorded. You're recording everything we say. But in today's world, you watch the news, you watch TV, you watch anything. Everybody's got their phone out. Everybody's recording everything. So
it's easy to catch somebody in their worst moment and then take that and post that and put it out there.
Yeah. And I have a hot button, and I'll say, for every day that I've met my wife and know her, she knows how to turn that thing off for me very well. She's my reliever for sure.
That's a good thing. Having a spouse that can do that.
Yeah. Because there's certain situations where you just gotta get between someone in your family, and you need that person like Nicole to just say, "Hey, just chill. Let's just leave." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. We need to leave."
We've had wild stuff because in the trades, you get painting and things like that.
Oh,
they come in here and they get a little spicy.
Oh, I'm sure.
A little mouthy.
Oh,
we had a few fun ones.
Yeah. Well, we could talk for days on stories with employees. I mean, the longer you employ people, the more stories you get. And at the same time, like even starting the gym, I take so much pride in everybody there, from my cleaning staff. She's a gal that's worked for me for years. So this is the biggest job she's ever had. She's never done anything like this. So the scale is so much larger. So between her, my front desk, always having that person up there when you walk in, they're going to say hello. My managers, just everybody.
I walked in yesterday and I can't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was, but she's like, hey man, happy birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally clicked in to the thing. So I don't know if there's a big alert that flashes or if she just noticed it, but it was fast.
What's cool about there is, when you sign in, we have two monitors and the screen will pull it up. It'll pull up your face, your name, and it has, I would say, personal information, not socials or anything like that, but it has, your birthday. And that's what they're instructed to do. Good to know they're doing that, because if it's your birthday or anything else, a prompt should be up there so they can say stuff like that.
That was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
what it should be.
Totally. This is a total squirrel. Change the topic, but I want to come back to it because I think it's important. So we were, I'm in the jiu-jitsu community, and I didn't realize that your daughter trains over at Catalyst with Todd and Jen. I've known Todd and Jen for a long time. So we were down at a tournament. I'm like, "Jarrel, are you fighting? Are you competing?" You're like, "No, that's my daughter." And I never really, I bumped into your wife a few times, but that's when I kind of had a chance to meet them. But just talk about that experience of having a daughter, right?
Yeah.
And then all the things you worry about with that, and then having a daughter who now knows jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it was having a boy. I was I raised my son the way I was raised. I was very harsh to him. And harsh is in raising him right. Discipline, yes, but respect is just such a big thing with me. I can say it 100 times, being raised in an Italian Catholic family. I mean, that's all I have to say. You respect not only your parents, your grandparents, but the ones around you. And he just grew up just phenomenally, mentally, physically, everything. My son he's a son that anybody would want to have, right? And here comes along my daughter. And me never having a daughter, I tell you what, it was like, this bubble I want to put around her all the time. And jiu-jitsu only came about because when they opened up Catalyst, like I said, it was 2 blocks away from my shop. I'm like, this would be great to get her in there as far as mobility, the respect, and everything else that comes with jiu-jitsu. So it was an easy sell for me. I went in there to sign her up. I didn't go in and be like, oh, I need to see her facility. And raising a daughter, especially in today's age, knowing how to defend themselves. I mean, she's not walking into school today just not being able to wait to put someone in an arm bar. It's not what it's about. No. It's like, you put your hand on my daughter in the wrong way. I want her to be able to defend herself and then get somebody for help. Yeah. But at the same time, raising a daughter, and my wife will tell you this till she's blue in the face, I'm a lot easier on her than I was on my son. And I
all across the board?
All across the board.
Yeah. Why is that?
I'm just, it's my daughter, and I can't describe, and it's just like, before you and I got married, before we had families, you can't describe the way you feel about your kids right now. Back then, you can't say, well, when I have a daughter, this is how I'm going to feel. You don't know. And I never understood. I have friends that have, I'm a godparent to a daughter, somebody's daughter. And I tell you right now, it is one of those things that you can't describe, but you want to put that bubble around. You want to protect her at all times. And when she's doing something wrong, my delivery to her is not the same delivery I gave my son. There was probably some profanity mixed in there with my son, and it's just not with my daughter. And I talk to her rather than with my son. Sometimes I would just blow up, And with her, it's so much more calm. I want to get the same point across, but I know it's in a different way,
Yeah.
And that was cool because being at that tournament and then bumping into you there. I mean, we bump into each other all the time, always at these different places. But that was really cool because that was a tournament up in Denver, and you had your crew there, and that was a neat experience. And that was, as a matter of fact, I can't remember if that was her first or second tournament, but it was still all new to her.
So she's about a year in now? Year or two?
No, she was she's 11, and she started when she was like 5 or 6 years old.
So it's been a while. It's been a while.
Okay. And actually, this summer that we just got done with was the first summer that she took a break from it. And the deal was, I'm like, hey, that's fine. You want to take a break? That's cool. But what else are you going to do? What would you like to do this summer? And she's always liked golf. My father's a big golfer. He golfs almost 100 rounds a year. And so we got her into golf. We got an outstanding family across the street from us that has 3 kids. They're practically, God bless you, practically family. Yeah. And their son, Jacob, is like family to us, is like Juliana's brother. So we paired them up, and they went to golf all summer together. Yeah. So she did take the summer off from jiu-jitsu. Hasn't got back to it yet, but school just started. So we're letting everything, smooth out there because now she's in junior high. That was the other thing. Junior high, she was freaked out, first day of school. And now she's like, yeah, it's just another day of school. I said, I told you.
Navigating a daughter through middle school, because we switched schools. Haley went from 6th to 7th, different school, a lot bigger of a school. And she came home just like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah. And there's a locker, and there's a PE locker, and there's all these. You go to what I forget what they call. I still can't remember, but we had a main room head teacher that we would go to. But homeroom. It was your homeroom. Yeah, Thank you. And she has that. It's called something else. And then that's the only time she's really spent there, because then she's zigzagging around going to all of her classes like every other junior high is. Yeah. So that was the biggest change for her to really get used to. Yeah.
Man, good stuff. Well, so like, what's the big vision with the business? Or like, where do you ultimately want to take everything you've got going on?
Well, as far as you never want to, I'd say between every 1 to 2 years in the automotive industry, I'm a detail, and it's changed from detail to reconditioning when I kind of grew the name, because I wanted to bring in something different every 1 to 2 years. And I started doing that quite a while ago. So when I started doing tint, that was a big deal, and I sent Kyle to training, and we learned how to do tint, and I put that in his lap. Then we started doing PPF and clear mask, kind of pairing those up together. So then it was just a few years back, probably, longer than that now. It's probably 5 or 6 years. We started doing ceramic, and hopped around and got with a company that we really liked. And I really felt as though their product was way better than anybody else's. And the company was changing it to the specifications that I wanted. So it was like kind of like my ceramic. And so getting that to the point now is, I haven't hit a roadblock, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do stereo installations or anything like that. But the small things have come up in the automotive business. Like, I have so many families now, and it's another cool thing is they're handing their cars down to their kids.
Yeah.
So now they got this older car. So now I got into headlight restoration because older cars need headlight restoration. Then I ceramic them so the hoof doesn't come back again. So there's all these little things like that, that I've went ahead and done. And I co-op with some businesses around me too. Like you come in with a truck and you want ceramic, but you want to lift tires, wheels, leveling kit. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you to this other company I do business with. Okay, I'm going to send you there, and then when they're done, I want to be the last to touch it to do ceramic.
Yeah.
So the automotive game, I always want to have a lot of irons in the fire because you never know when one dealership is going to get slow. And that's why I take care of 6 or 8 right now. I mean, my head's not above water. I say from the middle of March till I sit down to eat my Thanksgiving dinner. That time is just balls to the wall.
Yeah.
But to complement one another, that's also the time when the gym industry slows down. Yes. So my 2 businesses I have right now on the top complement one another greatly.
Yeah.
So now I'll only slow down because of retail, like your car, your personal car. You don't want to get it full detail, maybe an interior, but you don't need a full detail, in December because you're thinking it might snow, it might do this or that. So that's why I have all these dealerships. So right now I can't keep track of time at the shop, but that's because come winter, the dealerships are open. They're open for business year round, and they need their cars done, period, end of story. So that's what keeps me alive in the wintertime. But again, the automotive side of it, I think is kind of just morphs into its own right now, and where it is now and where it'll go is where I allow it to.
Yeah.
And then on the gym industry, like I said, I have probably a 3-year plan, maybe 4, but somewhere around 3 years, I'm going to really sit back and evaluate and say, okay, I want to do another one of these. Where am I going to put it? And I have a few really good areas in mind. Okay. They're not far from here, but they're going to be somewhere where I'd probably do another one because the last thing you want to do is open a kick-ass gym like I did, and then I want it to grow. I want a lot of members and I want this and that to the point where, okay, this thing is almost too full, too much. Yeah. And that's when you open up one nearby. Yeah. So that's going to be my next venture more than likely.
But it's always innovating. It's always staying in front of it, looking at where it's, know where it is, but look at where it's going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're wrapping up an hour here.
I know.
It flew by.
Goes by fast.
That's awesome. You got a card. You wrote down something, the statement you want to leave with the world when you leave it. So we wrap up every episode the same way. What do you got to share?
This would be something that, sticks in the back of my mind. Again, I'll go back to faith. My wife also mostly Italian, not full-blooded like me.
Okay.
Raised Catholic. We both went to the same church when we were kids, not even knowing each other, but got our first Holy Communion there, did everything there with our families. And when it comes to something like that, and then your family grows, and then you start losing family members. So my wife, being an only child, lost both her mother and father shortly after we got married. So it's always one of those things that stick in the back of my mind. Like if you're leaving, whether it's Earth or wherever you're going, one thing that you want to say would be to tell your friends that you love them, but to tell your family how much you love them so much more. Yeah. And that's the 2 things in life. We always have employees. We always have friends. But you have these. I always categorize them as 2 different things. You have friends. Good friends. Like friends to me are someone that's going to walk in your door because it's unlocked and you're not going to mind. That's a friend, right? Family are ones that are already there because the door was locked, and they're the ones that have the keys. Yeah. So you take these 2 groups of people, but when it's your friends, if you're on your dying last breath, you're going to want to tell the doctor, tell all of my friends I love them, but you be sure to tell all my family how much more I love them.
Love it.
So.
Jarrel Ferrara.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I had a blast.
Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Would you make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel here, and please share this episode with somebody whose life it will make better. Are you a faith-based father and you want to have the adventure of a lifetime with your son? You have to check out the father-son hike of a lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June of 2025, I'm going to be taking a small group of fathers and sons over to Spain. We are going to spend 6 days, hike 70 miles, have some of Spain's most amazing cuisines, see some of the most beautiful places and spaces, but most importantly, spend time together bonding with our sons. If you're interested in this adventure, check out mattshoup.com. When you get to the website, click the Gentle Art of Leadership button and hover down to the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime.